good to go in 10.
10 minutes or 10 seconds. Welcome, everyone, to this episode of Shirley Talk. I'm Mike Mulroney.
I'm Kelly Duckworth.
Kelly, you a doctor?
No.
Accountant? Tax person?
Nope.
Yeah, man, I didn't think so. We point that out because if you get advice or hear us say something today, please get professional advice, because we're just a couple people trying to get the word out and educate people on cancer and what to look for, and try to tell some positive stories in this world. Have you seen a positive story on the news recently?
Not in a long time.
I stopped watching the news. I actually ordered some. Do you know what a DVD is?
Yeah.
I ordered Gilligan's Island DVDs from the 80s, so I'm going to start. Yeah, well, I figured you'd know that one. I'm going to binge watch Gilligan's Island because I'm sick and tired of all the crap that you see on the news and TV. It's just disheartening. So, but anyway, all right. So, like I said, we are professionals of nothing other than sitting here talking about and trying to educate people on cancer treatments and what to look for. And today we have our good friend Amanda today. How you doing?
Hey, Mike. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. No, thank you. Somebody told me when you were sick, how long ago was it?
I was diagnosed in 2017 in the
Okay.
summer.
Yeah, and in full disclosure, I think my daughter, you know how kids are, don't tell anybody. First thing they do is tell somebody. So my daughter told me that you had cancer, and I was like, I saw her 2 days ago, and she didn't look sick at all. And I think I told you on a text message once that you were the ultimate badass, because I never knew you were sick. Never knew it. And I don't think we really talked about it much because you just didn't talk about it. But what did you have in treatments, and how did you figure out you had colon cancer, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
In August of 2017, I went for a colonoscopy. It was not routine. It was more warranted that I'd been having some issues. So I went to see a gastrologist, and she was like, hey, we really need to, get you in for a colonoscopy. And I'm like, why?
How old were you?
I was 37.
Yeah. Which is unusual. Why would she ask? Did you have history in the family or something?
No history. And honestly, the more that I have gotten into this world, I call it the cancer world, it's not really uncommon. I have two friends right now. One has just turned 30. She has stage 4 colon cancer with no family history, no genetic issues. And then another who's 26, same stage 4, no
colon
family
cancer
history.
Wow.
Cancer, right? It's so it really is on the rise with young people, and that is, one of the things obviously that I want to talk about today too is, we just raised the age to 45 for colonoscopy. It was 50. And we're really advocating and hoping to even get it to at least 40.
So that's so aggravating, because you think long term the insurance, because what it boils down to is what insurance is going to pay for.
Correct.
So you just named two people way under 40 that have stage 4 colon cancer, and I'm sure their bills are extremely ridiculous because they're under 40. You're obviously under 40, so that's 3 people right there.
Right.
And why don't we wise up in this world? Because you would think the insurance companies would pay out less if they ran the tests and caught it early versus paying for treatments and trying to save somebody's life. We got to think about this differently. Makes no sense.
I agree. And you're right. There are people, I've met so many people who, and again, this best, people who are choosing, do I keep the lights on? Do I buy this medicine? Do I take all the money out of my 401k that I worked my entire life for?
Do I sell my house?
Do I sell my house? What do I do? And so it kind of brings, people to a, quite the hard spot, deciding on what they do. So people with your help get to choose life, and I love that. And that's one of the reasons, again, that I'm here today to speak with you, and just happy to know you, through our kids, coincidentally, that I already knew you. And then, being diagnosed and all that stuff. I was like, hey, I know a guy. So I was diagnosed in August of 2017. I was 37. Cancer was not on my radar at all. So I was diagnosed during my colonoscopy, and I had a scan that day. And luckily, I had a great doctor, and she was like, we're not going to send you home without you knowing exactly, what you need to know. So I did have a great medical team. So 2 weeks later, after lots of scans and scopes and all that stuff, I started chemotherapy and radiation. About 8 weeks later, I had a lower anterior resection with a temporary ileostomy, which was super exciting.
So
And
basically surgery in a nutshell.
yeah, so it was about a 7-hour surgery.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they removed.
So you had surgery, and I probably saw you the next day, and you're walking around acting like it was no big deal. I mean, I'm telling you, I'd never noticed that you even shown that you were sick.
So, I'm a single mom, and I'm 23 years active duty in the military. And so I think that's part of it. I really, think that being in the military was and is, because I still am active duty at the Air National Guard. We push through things. That's what we do, right? So that's pretty much ingrained in my head. I have 2 amazing parents who, again, I was raised that way. That's what you do.
Yep.
You're sick, you're going to school.
Yep.
Take a Tylenol, drink this Pepsi, you're fine.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I'm a single mom. I have 2 girls. So, they saw me at my low. There were moments where they saw me there. But all in all, I was like, you're going to see me down here, but you're going to see me get back up.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was, we all want to have a teaching moment with our kids, right? This was not the one I wanted, but I think it's made them really strong girls for their age. Even, they're 13 and Juliet just turned 15. But, they persevere. And I think that, part of that's through our situation. And I was really honest with them, even though they were a little younger than, of course. I'm like, you will know everything I know. So I know a lot of parents who are diagnosed with cancer, they're afraid to talk to their kids because they're afraid that they're going to scare them. Mm-hmm. And even as a child, knowledge is power. So, explaining it to them on kid terms, it doesn't have to be quite as graphic, even though I was, because that's just my relationship with my girls. For them knowing what is going on and the steps that are being taken and showing them things. I took them to 1 radiation, 1 chemo. They were there for my surgery in the waiting room. And like I said, they were there for it all. So I think it was very helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
For them to know.
Yeah, I think we shelter them too much, and I'm kind of guilty of that probably too, because you don't want to see people at their lows and have them scared to death. But yeah, that's just incredible. So you had your surgery, and how did that go? Did that go okay? Was you down a few days? I mean, like you said, I don't ever. Just amazed by how you handled it.
Oh, thank you. It was in December, so it's kind of a time where people are busy too. So I think that I was able to slide right under the radar. But it was a pretty invasive surgery. Like I said, they removed 1.5 feet of my colon, 1/3 of my rectum, and I had the temporary ileostomy that I was still hoping and praying was going to be temporary, but there were no guarantees. But there's a magic window right there that they want to start chemo back. So I had to start chemo 4 weeks later. So
were they not sure they got it all? Is that the reason why they wanted to do that?
So the chemo and radiation that they did before almost completely eliminated the tumor, which was almost a full bowel obstruction. But it had invaded my muscle and stuff. So that's why they staged me out as 3. There were some lymph nodes, etc. So my pathology report afterward, there were still some hot lymph nodes, that showed remnants of cancer, but they always do the chemo afterwards. They call it cleanup, at least with colon cancer. So all of the, the American Cancer Association, the path for whatever cancer you have is pretty standard of care. But sometimes the order is different. So I've met people that have the surgery first and then they do radiation and chemo, or, some people opt out. I mean, it is your choice as well. But I had a really great oncologist, and he was like, hey, you're 37, you're healthy, we're doing it all. We're going for the win. I'm like, hey, I'm on board, man. And he was like, okay. So then I started 6 months of chemo, which this one was not a fun one. So I went every 2 weeks for an infusion, took a little chemo box home with me for a couple days. And then I would go back, get a fluid infusion, because normally dehydration is a huge deal with chemotherapy, and it can really run you down even more than the chemo itself sometimes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they called it at my doctor's office a hydration infusion. So it's just, a normal banana bag that they would give you. So when I would go get unhooked, they would reconnect a bag of fluids through my port and give that to me. And that normally would my mom would say, bring you back to life, because I would just be really down, lose all color, just kind of not look very good. And then that could just kind of really be a complete game changer.
Yeah.
So we did that for 6 months. And then after that, they gave me 4 weeks again to kind of recover as far as your immune system. No one wants to take a person in surgery with a low immune system. And then they were able to reverse my ileostomy, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's probably a pain in the butt to deal with, isn't it?
So honestly, it wasn't that terrible. I prepared for it. You know, they gave me a video. It was probably VHS, and you probably really don't know what that is. But no.
Have you ever seen one of those?
Oh, it's been a long time.
They're really big.
Yeah.
Kelly's half our age, so at least half my age anyway.
I know, she's a baby. But my girls, they watched that video with me too also. And so they would always be a part of everything, you know. So like you got to change all that stuff very frequently. And my kids always wanted to be a part of that. And so I let them be. But the reversal was really like, obviously what I was looking for, right? Like hopefully this can be reversed depending on the healing, you know, which is the point of the ileostomy temporarily is for everything where they, you know, cut everything and resealed and, you know, to heal up so that you could actually be normal.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
But so they were able to do the reversal. So I was back in for surgery. That was only a couple days that I was actually there for that one. And then the hard part came, honestly. So it'd be like all the chemo, all the surgeries, not the hard part. So the hard part, I believe, really comes afterwards, right? So there's like, then there's all these emotions that come from, you know, checking boxes, which is kind of what I do. And then you're like, whoa, hey, I just had cancer. Maybe I should deal with that.
Yeah.
And then having the ileostomy reversal, I had a couple months of adult potty training because you have to, you know, like any muscle you don't use, get to learn how to reuse that. And then I went through chemotherapy and radiation induced menopause at 38. So I was 38 at that time. So there was a lot going on right there. And so that for me was really the hard part. And I had always like been very physically active. So for me, running was how I would deal with stress. Well, and I just had surgery, so I wasn't really doing a lot of running. So when I got like the opportunity to start getting out, I had a friend and we would go to Iroquois Park and, you know, it's always a great place to get out. And I would just like walk, run, cry, walk, run, cry. She was like, oh my gosh, I've never seen you like this. I'm like, I don't know what it is. But my oncologist was like, we probably need to check your hormones. That's when he was like, yeah, you went through menopause. We missed that because of all the other, you know, the chemotherapy and all that. That normally happens temporarily during that time for women. But, you know, then afterwards you're like, your body is supposed to kickstart all the things, right? Your hair is supposed to grow back. Your skin grows back. Your everything basically grows back because as we know, chemotherapy kills everything bad and good.
Yeah.
But that was just one thing that didn't start back for me.
So they were able to prescribe you some hormones and medication and get you back on track, I guess?
I declined.
Yeah.
I was like, now that I know what it is,
I'll deal with it.
I'll deal with it. And they also, so one thing they did send me to or give me the information to was the Livestrong program at the Ymca. And they were fabulous. So they have like workouts that are specifically for people recovering from chemotherapy and radiation. My instructors both happen to be breast cancer survivors. You all of a sudden have this support group that wasn't supposed to be a support group because at first I didn't really know how I felt about that. And I really didn't know anyone with cancer, at least not in my, you know, decade, it seemed like at that time. So I met all these people. So it was really nice. So I had that. You get to bring your caregiver, which was my mom. So my mom got to come with me. And so I started physically like feeling like myself again and like getting some of, you know, feeling better and all of that. And then had this group of people rallying around me. So all of that was a game changer for that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a unofficial support group, people that just because, you know, it's hard to talk about this kind of stuff until people have actually dealt with it because they don't really know what you're going to go through and what you're going to deal with.
Right.
So it's good to have those people, even though you don't want to call it support group. At least they know what you're going through because they did it.
Right.
But, you know, I never, people was like, yeah, she she lost her hair. It's like, no, she doesn't. Her hair looks identical to the way it did. So you went through all that, and I never saw it. So you masked it very well.
Even my oncologist said, he was like, you never even lost your hair. Like, you know, like, hey, that's great. And I was like, I'm wearing a wig. And he goes, really? Wow.
I didn't notice it.
Yeah.
Because it looked just like your hair now.
It did. My wig lady, I will say, she's at Awakenings Boutique. She's local. She's awesome. She's also a cancer survivor.
Okay.
I walked in and, you know, she was like, well, show me a picture of your hair. And I showed her and she goes, oh, I have your hair right here. And literally like walked over and picked it up off a mannequin and handed it to me. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Well, you got beautiful hair, so don't take me wrong when I
Thank
say this,
you.
but it's probably not hard to mimic because you don't put a lot of curls. I've seen it, you curl it a few times, but it's not like it's up and you tease it and do all kinds of things every day with it. So,
Right.
I mean, I guess it makes sense because it was easier to mimic than some of the other women's hairdos. So,
Right. And two, also, I mean, you know, I can find so many silver linings in my diagnosis. And one was, you know, hey, when I wanted to go somewhere, I just popped my hair on and it looked great every time.
It'd be lovely to do.
You know?
I hate doing my hair.
I
Clearly.
tell my friends all the time, I'm like, you know what? When we go on vacation, we should go and get wigs. So we don't have to worry about doing our hair at night
Yep.
when we go out. I'm
We
like,
just did that for a bachelorette party and it was great.
Were they pink?
They were.
They were. I love it.
yeah, I think I did see that picture.
Yeah, and then you got hot later and you just took it off and you had a nice messy bun. It was good.
Yep. That's exactly it.
That's funny. I just throw on a hat. It's much easier.
Oh, yeah.
I like that method too. I have like over 50 baseball caps now.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Mine is when I start working and doing things that get all dirty and sweaty, so I don't keep them very clean very often. So, so you went through all this, and life is slowly getting back to what you would consider normal, and then you started taking these adventures. How in the world did that come about? How did you? It's a group that you got involved with. Is that correct?
it is. So I've always been a bit adventurous anyway. My family's that way. We're
Right.
outdoorsy. We fish. My daughters hunt, you know. But so at the YMCA in the Live Strong program, my instructor's like, hey, I've heard of this organization. It's called Epic Experience Beyond Cancer. It's based out of Denver. Like, you guys should sign up because if you sign up, you know, it's a week-long camp in the mountains. All cancer thrivers. We say thrivers because there's people either going through it or survivors. So we are just all thrivers. And, you know, hey, it's a week-long trip. Go out. Let's see what's going on. So we all signed up. And I was actually the first to get a phone call to go. And I went out there and it was awesome, really. So they're a nonprofit organization as well. And it's a family who's dedicated, very similar to yours, their entire life to cancer survivors. And they had a son that was diagnosed in his like early 20s. And it seemed like to them, they were like, you know, there's all kinds of things out there, but it's a lot of things for like kids with cancer, like adolescents and stuff like that. And they're like, we want to start something that's for, you know, 18 and up. Like, there's no cap on this. And so they're from Sacramento. Their kids were actually in college when their son was diagnosed in Denver. So they moved there. And
Which is beautiful, by the way.
It is beautiful.
I love Denver.
It is beautiful. I love it. So I just felt right at home with them and their family. And so after the camp that I was at, and we cross country skied and snowshoed and we went dog sledding, and, you know, all courtesy of some amazing person who donated money to them, you know, that they paid for everybody to do all these amazing activities and stay in these cabins on this, you know, dude ranch, which was, again, just amazing and pretty magical. I was there for, you know, winter. I don't know, probably 8 feet of snow up there at like 11,000 feet.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool. And they
But it
asked
could
me to
be
join their
70
team.
degrees down off the mountain, though.
Depending on where you are, absolutely. Yeah. And definitely they don't have as much snow like in Denver per se as they do, you know, up in the mountains. They can get a lot of snow. So, but yeah, so I went and it was awesome. And, you know, part of my journey in the, you know, after party, I will say, is, you know, figuring out your purpose. Because there are a lot of people who, you know, don't make it to the other side.
Yeah.
And so I really struggled with that. Like, why me? You know, why me? What is my purpose? I have to do something with myself, right? To advocate for other people or help other people in general. And so I joined their team, and that has been really awesome for me. So I go out there, 3 to 4 times a year and volunteer at the week-long camps, and help with activities. We make all their meals. I mean, we do everything. We drive them around. It's very bougie vacay.
I just learned what that word was about
I'm
6
so
months
proud
ago.
of you.
Yeah, so I try to use it anytime I
You
can.
got to keep them young,
I know,
Yeah,
right?
I
she
do.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah, she said something the other day about all booed up. I was like, "What's that mean anyway?" So I get to learn the new lingo. But
It's a Halloween term, like.
yeah. Well, I won't say that one, but something in chill. But I just it's you nailed something just there. Is some people will talk about their experience, and others like, look, I want it behind me. I don't ever want to talk about it again. And that's good, but we've got to educate and let people know what people go through with this kind of thing, the sickness and what to look for and things like that. And I'm hoping more, and most people will talk about it, but it's just people got to know because it's such an unknown. So, I'm glad you were able to talk about it. So you're actually on the board of this Epic Adventures. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I'm on their alumni team, and we actually just had a phone call last night, but we plan all the activities. This year I did all the silent auction for the gala, and we do pretty much anything.
And this is all in Denver, so you handled all that from here in Kentucky?
I did,
How in the
and it
world?
was virtual this year. So we did a virtual gala, which is it actually turned out really well. I was a little worried because
Yeah.
anytime you go completely virtual with anything like that, I feel like it's going to be hard. But yeah, we represented really, really well from Kentucky with lots of bourbon.
Good.
Nice.
So I just got donations from local. So I had even some of my own donations here, which was great. And then we did like a central, spreadsheet that we all shared, and we put all the donations, and then we just started shipping them out afterwards. So yeah, it made it a little bit more difficult. I may have like a little, storage for Epic Experience in my garage, for things like that. But
Yeah.
I actually just hosted, we decided after COVID that we can't do camps, obviously, during COVID. So we started doing regional days. So I hosted the first regional day ever for our area, which was really cool. We were at Mammoth Cave, and we went kayaking. And we did thrivers and their caregivers. So it turned out pretty cool. And it was nice that I had all that stuff in storage for garage. So I had like t-shirts and water bottles and things like that Epic had given, for me to give out to folks. And, we're going to host some more. So definitely hope to get with you, and we'll pull from the community and get as many people out there. It's, again, funded, and all they have to do is show up and have a good time, meet like people, and support each other. Cause like you said, it's really is the being able to talk about things. The caregiver piece is huge. I don't think caregivers get nearly enough, glory, as they say, because, they're really in a different spot. As a thriver, like, I have choices. Do I want to take the chemotherapy or the radiation, or do I want to stop, or whatever it may be? And your caregiver really has to just be there.
They roll with the flow. They're the wingman, our woman. And we're trying to actually get a couple caregivers to come in and talk about that. We got one that called me the other day, and her mom is diagnosed with cancer, and she's tore up. Her mom doesn't want anybody to know, but this person is really struggling to help their mom.
They need support.
Yeah, not everybody's designed to be a caregiver, for one. And it's financially draining on her because her mom can't work, so she's trying. And she told me, she goes, I come to all your raffles, I come to all your drawings, always sitting in the crowd hoping to win. She goes, but I never thought about this side of it. It's a different feeling when I'm on this side, knowing where the rest of the money you raise goes to help people like us. And
Right.
it was very eye-opening, but she's really about to have a breakdown because she's not designed to be a caregiver, and it's really changed her life. I mean, she went from doing whatever she wants to not being able to go anywhere because her mom's living with her now.
Right.
So we're trying to get it. So if you know one that would like to talk about their experience, we'd love to have that, because you're right. Caregivers don't get I don't know what you call it, but they're along for the ride. They're to try but it's amazing how many people that have cancer don't have a caregiver.
Right.
It's unbelievable. There's people out there that go to their treatments and don't even know how they're going to get home because either the bus or the Uber, or they don't have money for a ride. So But yeah, you were very lucky. Your mom, was she in the medical field or something?
No, she's just
For some
amazing.
reason, I was thinking she was a nurse, but I don't know.
No, she was not a nurse. And it's funny because if you ask her about it, which she went with me to regional
No
day
big deal.
and kind of spoke, and and she was like, I don't even like being called a caregiver. She's like, I'm a mom. Like
Just did what I had to do.
This is what I do. I'm a mom.
Yeah.
But it's still, like you said, it's not a choice. You know what I mean? Always, right? So there's, your mom, you're going to take care of your parent or your dad or whoever. So your life changes, and it happens quick.
Somebody posted on social media the other day, I don't care how old I get, sometimes you just need your mom. And lucky she's still here for you, because obviously we don't. But yeah, it's true. And moms are just moms. But caregivers, again, it's a whole different world that you're not prepared to do. And most just jump in and handle it. So
Right.
Well, thanks for coming in and sharing your story. It's interesting. I hope people learn something from it. But I'm just amazed at how young you were, and the two people that you mentioned are under 30.
That's what's sticking with me. I don't understand why. Even the same thing with breast cancer and mammograms. Why is this age not lowered?
Boils down to money.
You're clearly, I know, but like you're clearly seeing all these younger people getting diagnosed. I don't understand.
I don't either, because like I said, the cost of treating cancer has to be much more expensive than just running somebody through a test to see if they have it. And catching it early's got to save them money. Every crooked thing and crazy thing in this world boils down to money. Yeah, it really does. It does. And the insurance companies have decided how much money they're going to lose or gain versus what age they allow tests to be ran. And it's absolutely wrong. We've lost our morals in this world, and it's just disgusting sometimes when I hear that.
I agree. And I tell people, because a lot of people reach out to me and be like, oh, what were your symptoms? And, I'll talk to them and they're like, well, I went to the doctor and they said, I'm this age. And I'm like, well, you go in there and you lie. If you have to lie to get a test, I would go in there and tell them all the things. I would look it right up online. I would be like, symptom A, B, C, D, F, G. I have all of these. Can I get my colonoscopy now? Thank you.
Yeah.
So advocating for yourself, no one will ever advocate for you like you.
Yeah.
So you have to be your own best advocate.
And make it sound so bad that that's the reason why you're in here. Exaggerate.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know we're talking about colon cancer, but at Holy Cross, when we spoke the other day, I was trying to remember the names that, the breast cancer scans are at a certain age or they don't pay for it. But I know, and we know these people, 4 people, 3 are dead, 1's still here.
Right.
Charlie's dead. She was less than 30 years old. Elaine's dead. She wasn't even 40 yet.
Right.
Laura's dead. She was 34. And Michelle's alive. She's a little older, but 3 out of 4 are dead and 1's alive. But they were too young for the tests.
Right.
Too young. It's just disgusting. So.
It is, and I agree. Like I said, I don't promote lying, but I'm like, hey,
I don't either. But sometimes you got to exaggerate and advocate for yourself, like you said.
You do, you do. It's the difference. Can be the difference in life and death, right?
Yeah, and bankruptcy.
In bankruptcy.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Amanda. We will put the Epic Adventures information in the show notes on this podcast,
sure,
and share that out so people can see it. And it's pretty. Your wig person, we'll get that as well. I've heard she's really awesome.
Yeah, her name's Heidi from Awakenings Boutique. She is fabulous, and like I said, she's a cancer survivor.
Connect with her. I'd like to get her in here one time and talk about the reason why she does what she does.
Oh, you guys would love her.
Yeah.
She'd be great to have.
If you can ask her later today or whenever and shoot me a note, I'd love to have her in here one day.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks so much. Kelly, how can people help Shirley's Way?
Well, we're halfway through October. 2021, we're pushing really hard for $1,010 monthly donors. We're almost there money-wise. We've had several small businesses step up and make $100 monthly donations, so thank you for that.
That's kind of a trend we're seeing. $10 for personal people and $100 from small businesses, and hopefully we'll get $1 million from a corporation one day. It just hasn't happened yet.
That'd be nice. No, but so before the end of the year, if you're looking for an end of the year donation or a charity support, please consider Shirley's Way. You can go to our website at shirleysway.org to sign up now.
Thanks so much. Talk to y'all next time. Oh,
y'all are awesome.
Yeah.